Okay, so for this drawing, I'm going to show you how to draw a building, so a 3D building, using two-point perspective. So this time we're going to do two-point perspective. So if for your city you're interested in two-point perspective, you can always use this. Now, if you watch the one-point perspective video or me doing this, you will see that I started off with shapes, but this time all you start off with is a single line. So for two-point perspective, I want you to draw a line vertically as straight as you can towards the middle of your paper. Okay, room above it and room below it. Now, you can use anything for a straight edge. I used a little box lid I found. If you have a ruler, that's perfect. If you don't have that, a folder would work. Anything you can find that would be straight on one side will work. All right, now, this is two-point perspective, so that tells me I need two dots, one on either side of this, that I'm going to draw my lines towards to make it look like if the building gets smaller as it goes off in the distance. So that's my next step. This vertical line, we're going to connect it at the bottom and at the top with these little dots. Now, these dots are called vanishing points. And they are where it looks like things vanish off in the distance. So when you draw those lines, you get this, and it looks like there's a big triangle on the side. On the opposite side, I'm going to do the same thing. And you'll see that you get this shape that will look like a big diamond now with a line down the middle. Now, I'm going to take this big diamond and turn it into what looks like a 3D building or block. So line up your straight edge with that center line in your paper and then scoot it over without tilting it in any direction and draw another line between these two lines. These two lines are called orthogonal or vanishing lines because they look like they vanish off into the distance. Okay, this line that we just drew is called a parallel line. And if you remember from your math classes, a parallel line is a set of lines that go in the same direction and they never touch or intersect, which means to cross. And I need two of those parallel lines on either side of that center line right there in the middle. So I'm going to make it line up with that center line and then scoot over and draw my line. Now, the further you are away from the center line, the bigger that side of the building would be. The closer you are, the skinnier that side of the building is going to look. When I finish drawing those two sets of parallel lines, then I erase the remaining orthogonal or vanishing line between there and the vanishing point. Don't erase your point. You want that for later. And erase it again on this side, and you have a 3D box or building. But we need it to look a little more realistic than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my straight edge with the two dots of my vanishing point and draw a line across. When I hit the building, I'm going to skip it. Let that focus on there, and that now becomes your horizon line. This is the point in the distance where everything looks like it meets or runs into each other. This is what tells us where the sky and the ground meet, and that those are two different spaces. All right, so let's say you wanted to add some things to the ground here. Like maybe you want to add a road. All roads go to the vanishing point in two-point perspective. You cannot draw a road going just straight across. If you do that, it's going to look like the road is sitting straight up and not going off in the distance. So I can add another one over here. Be careful, you don't want to draw them into the building or it look like you would drive into your building. Make sure they go off to one side or the other, like you see there. And if you erase this little piece right here, it'll look like your roads connect and like I could turn onto that road and keep driving. You can put roads behind your building, so I'll do that with this one right back here. But again, remember, make sure when you hit your building, you stop and pick it up again on the other side, or otherwise it's going to look like I drove into that building and crashed. And we don't want it to look like that. So right there is where our roads would meet. So it looks like I can drive into this space and drive away. All right, now we want to add a little detail to this building also. So to add detail to the building, like say a door, You pick which side you want the door to be on, and then you're going to draw a parallel line, parallel to that center line and to these outside lines. Then you're going to take the top of that line and you're going to connect it to your vanishing point. Draw it however wide you want your door to be. And then you're going to draw another parallel line and you have a door. If you want it to be a double door, you could put another line in the middle. You can add little handles. You could add a sign on top of it. Pretty much anything you want, as long as you follow the rule that all lines that are straight on this piece of paper go to your vanishing points or are parallel. So if I'm drawing a line anywhere on this piece of paper, it has to be either straight up and down or it goes to one of those two vanishing points. If you're not sure which vanishing point it goes to whichever vanishing point is on that side of the building. So if this is the right side of my building, I go to my right vanishing point. If it's on the left side of my building, I go to the left vanishing point, which is what we did with these here. If you draw anything that's an organic shape, you do not have to take that to your vanishing points. You do not have to make it parallel. So I can put like a bush in front of this building, like some ornamental things, and that's always good to add if you're urban planning and designing things. So now it looks like it has some plants out front. So let me show you what it looks like if we add something to this side of the building. Let's say we want to add a set of windows. When I add the windows, I've got options. I could make a solid chunk of windows, which are my favorite, so that's what I'm going to show you first. Where it looks like you have this whole row, and then just add parallel lines in between. Remember, I'm on the right side of the building, so I went to the right vanishing point. And it looks like you have a row of a bunch of windows. Let's say you want something more like a big, giant picture window. Just draw how big you want the top of that window to be, and then add a parallel on each side, and it will look like a big, giant picture window. So it's whatever you need it to be. No matter what you draw on here, if it is a straight line, it's either parallel to the center line or goes to your vanishing points. As long as you remember that rule, whatever you will draw on here will turn out wonderful.